Hi Ben, how are you?
Hi, Adam. I'm fine. Thank you.
What was your first
How are you?
computer?
My first computer was a Commodore 64, but as you might know, I'm a little bit younger than your other guests probably. So I learned starting games on my Commodore 64 at the age of 3.5.
Wow. How you can say that you are younger? My guests are always young. Young and
Yeah,
dynamic.
that's true.
Yeah. Um, so you started with C64, oh, in the age of 3.
Yeah, well, I'm not, uh, I haven't been using it much, but I have an older brother, and yeah, he showed me how to play some games on
Cool.
Commodore 64. And later I used it to try out some basic programs from the menu.
Okay, so which games? You remember something?
Yes, I do remember some games. I remember playing Pit Stop, which is a racing game.
Okay.
I remember Pharaoh's Curse, and I remember, I think it's called Lady Tut, maybe.
Lady Cut.
No, I think it's Tut, Tut,
Tut. Okay.
like,
Don't
yeah,
remember.
Tut and Shamun,
Ah,
abbreviation.
okay. Okay. But
It was a game where you, pardon?
yeah, what was it?
A game where you have a top-down view and can walk through doors and shoot enemies to get to the inside of a pyramid.
Okay. And the Curse of who? I think I remember this one. What was the name?
Yeah, Pharaoh's Curse. It was a not a side-scrolling game. You had one screen um, per
Task. Yeah, I remember this, I think.
yeah task. Yeah, and yeah.
Okay. Nice memories. So, and then you started programming BASIC. Why?
Because I had the manual and we didn't have another computer at the time. So I must have been in primary school, and yeah, it was. I was interested in how computers work, and yeah, I started typing the programs from the manual into the Commodore 64 and to see what they would be doing.
Okay. And you just wanted to do something with the computer, or what was the motivation? I mean, you had the games, you could just play.
Good question. I honestly don't know. I was just being curious how such machines do work.
Okay.
And yeah, at some point I tried to modify the programs to see what they did.
Okay. And what did the program? So, what was the
Oh,
first
they were
program you
just
wrote?
the first program, probably something like print hello world and go to 10.
Oh, yeah, this is exactly. No, in my case, it wasn't even this because I just try to write something down and see what happens. But you learned this, or you just copy the code and so what happened?
When I started with the Commodore 64, I only copied the code. I learned programming coding later in school with Pascal.
No, I
And
believe it. But what interests me, so you saw the book. So you wanted to learn programming, or you just typed in the code and wanted to find out what happens. So I mean, what was the approach? It's more like systematic approach. So you read the book first, or the text first, and try to understand what's going on, and then tried out the examples, or you saw the code and just typed in like Stack Overflow, copy and paste, and see what happens.
I don't really remember, to be honest.
How old
I
were
think it
you then?
was
How old were you?
probably something like 9 or 10 years old. I don't
Okay,
know.
so then
I don't really remember.
you are excused. No problem. Okay, so and then so it fun at least? Can you remember this? So you enjoyed that, or what, you were frustrated that it doesn't work? So what was the?
Yes, I remember modifying some basic games so I could cheat a little bit. We played
Then
a
you
game
needed
called
pick and
Mafia
pokes,
Games.
right?
Actually, no.
Okay.
We played one game which was called Mafia Games,
Okay.
and you could just press the run stop button, or the break button, and do a listing of the code and modify a few lines to get more money in the game.
Interesting. So it means like the game was shipped. The game shipped with the source code. It was not binary, right?
Yeah, it was not written in assembly. It was written in BASIC.
Oh, I never had such a game. So in my case, they were just binary games, and then I had to type in some pick and pokes. in a program I forgot, and then you got endless lives.
I certainly never learned how to use the pick and poke properly. I only knew a few commands, but I don't remember them now anymore.
I also never got the idea. It for me was like magic, two numbers and you can achieve whatever. Like, okay, then so have you achieved anything? On the with the basic programming back then, something working except jumping to line 10.
In terms of programming, no, I didn't do anything.
At least Hello World or blinking font. This is what I achieved, I think, or moving font. Moving was.
Well, I remember implementing a temperature converter,
and you had to use go-to indeed with basic, right? Because you had to set a variable go-to. Then there was something was changed, and you jump back, and then you had the temperature in another variable. Okay, nice. And then you learned basic. No, Pascal. You said where?
Pascal in grammar school.
Okay.
It had been some time since then because we didn't have enough teachers for us to teach informatics. So I had to wait until I think 11th grade to have IT in school. And we did two things: Visual Basic for applications in Excel.
Okay.
And Pascal.
And what you preferred?
I think Pascal, but I really don't remember a lot from back then.
Oh, but you were older, right? So this was like 14, I think, right? Or
probably, maybe a little bit older, probably 16.
Okay, so you were already an old hacker. So with Pascal, and okay, and you remember what you did with Pascal? It was probably Turbo Pascal, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
I never got really into it.
Okay. I actually, the one thing in Pascal which fascinated me was I was able to store binary, just to store the state on disk. This was fascinating for me, that I actually store the state of the software somewhere. And this was, I don't even know what I stored, just an array, but that I can store it and read it. This is what I never got, because in BASIC, I thought somehow that I have to generate code and store it somewhere, you know what I mean? So for me, it was not obvious how to store state, and this was frustrating, because what I wanted to do, to have to write a code, and then you can store something, and then the next day you can open it and it's there. And with BASIC, for me, it was no idea how to do it. So my idea was that the program modifies itself somehow. So the next time there is the array or whatever I did. And in Pascal, the first thing I found was the idea that you can, I forgot how, but you can somehow easily save the stuff from the application to disk, to floppy disk. Mm-hmm.
But we had internet back then, and I was reading a lot of tutorials for Pascal. And
how is this possible? You had CC. Oh, this was later. This was not the C64.
It was much later.
Okay, then it's okay.
The early 2000s. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Mm-hmm. And I think it was Pascal or Delphi in that case, which got me into programming, because at that time my friends and I were playing a browser game. Perhaps you remember the browser games from the early 2000s?
No, which?
They were very simple and basic. Most of them were written in PHP. And we played a game which was called Galaxy Wars, which was just a representation of planets, and you had a fleet on those planets, and it was mostly just text in a web browser. Mm-hmm. And the idea of the game was to send your fleet to another player's planet to raid it. And one of the challenges was to find out where your enemy had planets where you could send your fleet to. And because I learned Pascal and Delphi later, I tried to write a program which was going through all the possible galaxies and universes, how they were called, to find those planets, path the HTML page, and store the result into an Excel file. Oh. And with that at hand, my friends and I were very successful in this game because we knew all the locations for all the enemy players. And we could later write a small program which we would let run in the morning, which would play the game for us. So other players had to sit in front of their computer for, I don't know, like half an hour or even a whole hour to send out their fleets, because it was very tedious and the server was very slow. And we just had a program which we could feed with a CSV file, and it would do everything for us, and we could go to school in the meantime. And
which is a benefit, okay?
yeah, absolutely. And but getting this task done really helped me to see why I wanted to learn programming, because you could automate tasks which others couldn't.
Yeah, what I understood, there was a PHP game, but how you were able to store and load CSV, because it was not your game, so you did it in browser, or how you did it?
Yeah, the Delphi program controlled. Did it control a browser? No, I think I just browsed through the URLs. They were built in almost like a RESTful state. So you had like slash galaxy number slash universe number slash planet number or something, and so I could just load one page per second maybe, and then pass the contents of the downloaded web page.
This is like a web crawler in Pascal.
Yeah, exactly. I was just crawling a few 10,000 pages and saving the results of the past files to a CSV file.
And what you also had to do is to inject the credentials or the session, right?
Yeah, sure. But only had to do it once on a login endpoint, and I got a cookie back which was valid for like I don't know, 30 minutes. Okay. But by then the program was already finished.
and the Pascal had support for cookies, or you had to just to know to add the cookie to the, or you wrote your own HTTP communication, or was it a library for it?
No, there was a library included.
Okay.
In Delphi, and I remember I had to in the UI I had to drag in an HTTP component into the form builder.
Okay.
And then you could double click it and write your code.
That's cool. So you actually used the Borland Delphi, right? I think.
Yeah, at some point, yes.
Okay. So there was, okay, I can imagine this. I never used Delphi, but I used the JBuilder in Java, and this was similar UI. So there were like components you could drag in. So it was one HTTP component, and it was, okay, so there was more visual programming, or you coded a lot? So
I think most of the part was coding, because I remember writing all those loops and the parser itself.
You wrote the parser, or you used XML parser? Or
I think back at the time I didn't know XML parsers, and so I probably did it manually.
But this is a great task to learn, right? Because everything is included. There was like for loops, timeouts, injection of parameters, and parsing. This is like brilliant.
I mean, you had a goal in mind and a result, and at the time, of course, with the age of 16, you didn't care too much about clean code, but you had a goal in mind, and I was trying out what we could do in Delphi until we got our results.
I think back then there was even clean code, because we were not very interested in over engineering. You just wrote whatever works, and then stopped coding.
At that age, I had no idea in how to organize modules, how to write clean code, how to inject, or what even DI is.
What I don't understand, why you were better in the games than the others? Because you played always the same thing the first hour, and then you can explore more galaxies, right? So you automated the first path, and then from that path you moved around, found another galaxy or whatever you found, and then
the game is was not so much about moving around. I mean, it was just clicking through pages, through web pages, and you could send your fleets, which automatically returned, by the way, to always the same planet on the next day. And just by doing this, you would gather resources.
Okay.
And just by automating this repetitive task, which was very easy to do every morning because you with our program you didn't have to do very much. You had an advantage of resources, and this alone helped so much that we were easily the best players in the universe. Of course, it was cheating, and at some point they implemented a captcha.
Okay.
But if you just reloaded the page, the captcha was gone 90% of the time.
So they noticed that something is not okay with your gaming.
They noticed not us in particular, but they noticed that some players got very good, and they blocked users who were doing things too fast. So our program was having built-in pauses, so it didn't do things too fast, and then they implemented those captchas, and they were just easy to circumvent by just reloading the page.
Why it was a problem for them? Because I mean, did you have to pay for the game? Was it like ads there, or what was the story behind it?
Yeah, it was an ad-based game.
Okay.
There was no such thing as freemium as there is today. So you, as far as I know, you couldn't pay for the game. But of course, what we did was considered cheating using bots.
Yeah, of course. No, just curious why it's the problem, because I mean, if you're using bot, you don't have fun playing. I mean, then you just watching playing. So no. Okay, exactly. Nice.
For me, it was just nothing to learn programming.
Yeah, and after the bots did something in the morning, you played in the evening, or you just improved the bot?
Well, I didn't improve it a lot after that. Some years later, I think I didn't play the game at the time anymore.
Okay.
I was finished with school, and we forgot about the game, and I think a year later, though, they shut down anyway.
Okay, and was it fun to play? I mean, just clicking pages and going, or was it? I mean, how to imagine that? So, I mean,
yeah, I mean, back then in the early 2000s, it was almost state of the art.
Okay.
There's still one of those games around. I think it's called O-Game.
Okay.
And yes, it was fun for us. But nowadays, of course, it wouldn't be something special with all those mobile games around.
Okay. No, I don't know, because Minecraft is also dated and still fun, right? I mean,
that's true. Yeah.
That's an interesting story, actually. So what happens after that? So you are 16 and you are the best in the world playing what game? What was it? Galaxy
Galaxy Wars. Yeah.
Galaxy Wars. You are the king of Galaxy Wars. What happened there?
Obviously, I had to go to the German army. For my service, and while I was there, I discovered.
Which part of the army was it?
I was a medic, actually, for the first 3 months, and after that, I was in Hanover at the in German it's called Musikchor. I think in English it would be just orchestra.
Okay,
maybe.
So you played heavy metal at the army, right?
Well, we did have soldiers playing guitar, electric guitar, obviously, but most of the time, of course, marches for special events.
Hey, how you achieved that? I mean, you learned an instrument in 3 months, or...
No, I've been playing the trombone since I was 10.
Okay, and that's trombone, because how you got the idea to play trombone? This is like a kid gets the idea, I would like to play trombone tomorrow, or is it more like parents gently motivate you?
Actually, because of my best friend back then.
Okay.
He started learning the trumpet, and I think the interesting question is, how did he get to learn the trumpet? His mother, when she was young, wanted to play the trumpet in the brass band of the church, but when she was young, she wasn't allowed to play. Only men were allowed to play in the church, and so she asked her son if he wanted to learn.
Was it in Germany?
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe it was just my hometown. I don't know. It's still very conservative. but she asked her son if he wanted to play an instrument, and he said yes. And of course, as his best friend, I noticed shortly after, and I was offered to play the trombone. And yeah, I stick with playing the trombone until today.
Oh, and trombone is the larger trumpet, right? For me, just.
Yeah, with a slide, you can.
Okay, I know how it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay, and you can just play trombone or other instruments as well?
I can play similar instruments like the euphonium. You might also know it as a baritone horn.
Okay.
And I can play the tuba.
And
very good one.
And guitar and stuff like that? No interest.
No, not at all. I tried to learn the piano at some point, but I gave it up after just 1 year.
Is it fun to play trombone? Of course it is, because you do it. But is it like are there like melody songs, or what are you doing with it? As I have no idea. So it's like.
Well, I play in our local church, in our brass band in the church, and also in an orchestra near Hanover. And it's basically what I've been doing all my life long. It's even a bigger hobby than coding today.
Cool.
So I would even say I couldn't live without playing the trombone.
Okay. And how good are you? So is it like, Jimi Hendrix of trombone somewhere, and you would like to achieve the same, or what?
Well, obviously I'm not a professional, but it was enough to go to the military orchestra.
I thought that the military orchestra is super professional. This was my impression.
Yes, they are. But if you're just doing your 9-month service, they also accepted hobby players, which were good enough.
Okay. And how good were you in comparison to the others?
It's hard to compare, I think. I think I'm pretty good at playing the trombone, but in the last 1.5 years, I didn't practice a lot because of the coronavirus.
Okay, exactly.
Yeah, I have to get back into playing. I mean, it's basically just training your muscles.
Okay. So if you have good muscles, you are perfect trombone player, right?
Yeah, you need your muscles around your lips, obviously.
There was the jazz trumpet players or trombone players. I don't even know. Yeah. They have. There was one player who looked almost like a frog. He had. He could blow up his his mouth. You know what I mean? He looked like a balloon. Who was it?
I know what you mean. Was it Benny Goodman? I have no idea.
Okay. You know what I mean? This was like, it looked
absolutely. But I think today it's regarded of wrong embouchure. So embouchure is the technique how you put your instrument onto the mouth.
Okay.
And from what I know today, you wouldn't learn it that way. You try to avoid it, and a teacher would tell you not to blow your cheeks.
Okay.
To not put air into your cheeks while playing.
Okay. This is what I immediately remembered. So I saw it somewhere. Okay, that's interesting. And you enjoyed the army experience?
Yes. So it was a good time earning a bit of money because I was basically doing what I like best in my free time, playing my instrument. And at some point I was carrying the Arabic Frescan. Perhaps you have heard of it. It's like.
What is it? Oh my! How it's related to trombone?
It's a person going next to the conductor when you're marching.
Okay.
And you're holding like how could I describe it? A big staff, perhaps, and
like
there
a flag.
Are a lot of flags. Yeah, there are not just flags. There's also the eagle of Germany and some bells on it. Okay. And you're walking next to the conductor, and it's it's not an instrument. You don't actually play it, but it's just for visual representation of the army.
Nice. And this was like you were able to do it because it was like, I don't know, why you got it or why you wanted to be the thing.
Because we had an excess number of trombone players, and one had to do it.
Okay.
So I was switching between baritone horn and the Arabic crescent.
And could you practice the entire day at the army?
Yeah, absolutely. We were expected to do practice the entire day from, I don't know, like 7 a.m. until 3 p.m. perhaps, or 4 p.m.
Mm-hmm. This is great. I mean, so you could actually you practice with your colleagues, right? So it was fun.
Yeah, we practiced in the morning with colleagues. So we had a rehearsal, and in the afternoon we had we practiced for ourselves.
This is actually super nice, I would say. This is like, time well spent at the army, right?
Absolutely.
And you were just 9 months, not 12.
I've been there for just 9 months. The first 3 months were actually
Die Grundausbildung, right? So
Grundausbildung, exactly.
this is like
what is it in English?
I don't know. This
Basic
is like
training.
the absolute foundation where I would say everyone is equal, right? So you had to do the same stuff everyone else doing, like,
Yeah, almost. I mean, I was a medic for the first 3 months. So the basic training differs from what you're doing in the army, and every musician will be a medic in the first 3 months.
Okay.
And I was somewhere deep down in Bavaria for my basic training.
Bavaria. Where are you in Bavaria? Because I was also in Bavaria in the army.
It was called, I think I don't remember.
Upper Bavaria, or is it in the near of Straubing, Regensburg, or where was it? Roughly?
It was near Straubing, Feldkirchen.
Feldkirchen.
Near
Okay.
Straubing. Yeah.
Okay, then I know it. I think I did it, the driver license there, I guess.
I see.
Yeah, because in the army, there's a funny fact. If sometimes I had to drive, regular bus, not bus, like the Volkswagen van, VW van, and for that you need a specific driver license, which does not make any sense. But I had to do this. Okay. So what happens after army?
After army, I did my traineeship in my still current company I'm still working in.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the Finanzinformatik, or finance IT in English. And we are the data center for the German saving banks.
Ah, okay.
So the traineeship was, we say a duales Studium, which is 3 months of going to a university and 3 months going to work, and that switches back and forth.
And you always knew that you would like to do this because of your programming experience, or?
Yes, it was. It felt like a sane choice because I knew I was doing a lot with computers, and I could imagine to become an IT professional at the time. I didn't know when I applied what I would be doing. So I was asked if I wanted to be a coder or a system engineer, a system integration. And I chose coding.
Mm-hmm.
But
what is system integration? What do you do as system integrator?
Basically everything which is not coding.
Yeah, what is
kind
it?
So at the moment, I'm responsible for delivering Java versions and IBM Liberty profile to our production or ops departments.
Are you now system integrator?
Yeah.
But you started as
officially,
coder.
yes, absolutely. My job title is system engineer.
Okay. No, because sometimes I see system integrator and I had no idea what it means. So what a system integrator does? Is this like more like a manager, or what is it?
I think it's more like administrator.
Okay. Like a DevOps right now, right? You could call yourself a DevOps.
Yeah, probably.
Or okay. Yeah. Okay. So you started this because maybe this is also in the near of your hometown and you wanted to code and to look nice. So you started with the half working and half studying, which sounds like fun as well.
The location was a big plus, which is one of the reasons why I applied. The university is in Hamelin,
okay,
which is nearby. Mm-hmm. In Hanover, I think you might know it.
How it's called?
Hamelin, or Hameln in German.
Hameln, yeah, I know it.
And there was the university. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the short distances were a big plus, which is one of the reasons why I applied.
And you learned what exactly there?
In English, it's called business informatics, but it's not common, at least not common in the US. You can imagine as a mix between economic sciences and IT.
Which makes sense. So and what was the IT part? Is like Java or?
Yeah, we had some basic training with C as well.
Okay.
But most of the time we learned Java. I mean, it was a private university, and the companies sending the students in had a word with what we would be learning. And Java was one of the most requested programming languages.
Which version? You remember?
Probably Java 6, but
Wow.
I really don't remember.
Java 6 is very new. So
it was from 2006 to 2009.
So there were already annotations, everything in place.
But I remember I didn't use them at the time. So we had the basics, like what is an object, what is an instance.
Okay.
And we didn't even touch Maven or similar things.
Which could be actually a benefit, because I saw some Maven project which I wouldn't like touch either. So, okay, what happens after the university? Or did you program something interesting, or something interesting Java related happened at the university? Or
actually no, as far as I can remember. So I joined a department which were coding in assembly.
Wow. Okay.
And it was not x86 assembly. It was
Motorola
host assembly.
Wow.
From IBM. Yeah. IBM 31-bit host assembly. And yes, it's 31-bit, not 32 bits.
Okay.
Because they reserved the 1-bit for 64-bit compatibility. I need to redo that. They reserved 1-bit for compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
And but I only did this for I think 1 or 2 years, and then I joined another department which deploys our Linux OS to servers.
Okay. So I thought they reserved the one bit for the licensing, So is it licensed or not? No, just kidding. So you enjoyed the assembly? Because this was like complete different experience. So from business informatics to 31-bit assembly is quite a jump, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely helped to understand how memory layouts work, especially when you have to access a database. Mm-hmm. But as soon as I got back to Java, it just stuck around in my mind to see how Java would work internally. Mm-hmm. But I never touched assembly again.
I thought you were able to program just the bytecode. This is one of my early jokes at the beginning. Everyone asked me about IDEs. So this was like endless discussion about IDEs, which became boring for me. And in one company asked me which IDE I'm using. I say nothing. I just write bytecode. This is much faster because the compilation takes too long. And if you start with 0x and Coffee Baby, then it's very easy. You only remember in the first. And this is true. Coffee Baby are the first 2 bytes.
Yeah.
And or 2 words, not bytes, right? 8. I don't even know. What happened then? They believed me. So I expected that someone would laugh or something. No. They said, okay, cool, interesting idea. And then I got a request via email whether I can help them, a training or workshop for byte programming without IDE. And I had to explain that it was actually a joke, and they were not very happy about that. From assembly, so why you left the department? Because it was too boring, too hard, or you just were more interested in
actually, after my traineeship, they didn't have a position there. I could.
But you enjoyed the 31-bit?
I was happy to be back at client server.
Okay. You knew that this is somehow more, I don't know, future-proof or whatever.
Yeah, I never got one with 3270 terminals.
Okay.
I like the Linux terminal much better.
Okay. So you switched to Linux department, and what you did there?
I was in charge of creating a Linux laptop for our company.
Okay.
But shortly after I started with the work, our 2 companies merged.
Wait a sec. I imagine this was a ThinkPad. IBM.
Actually, no. We didn't use specific brands.
Okay.
So I think I was working with Fujitsu.
Okay. I was sure it was ThinkPad because IBM. You mentioned OpenLiberty, and you mentioned the host. Those are properly ThinkPads, but I really liked the ThinkPads. I had several of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great machines. So you created the company laptop. So I mean, not the laptop, rather than the operating system. So you were in charge of setting up everything with Linux, right?
It was still a POC.
Okay.
A proof of concept, and not many employees used it, but a few of the ops department used it, and they were very happy with it.
Okay. And what happens then? So this was more like, configuration. This was like, for me, system integration.
Absolutely.
So this is the perfect definition of system integration, because, this is, you integrated a system with, this is perfect. Okay, now I know what system integrator does. Very good. So, and then it was successful. What happened then?
The department didn't have a position. I had to switch. Okay. I had to switch the department again, and two companies merged. One of the companies was mine, obviously, and the other one was the data center for saving banks from the southern part of Germany.
Okay.
And I got into the monitoring department.
This is interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you learned Nagios.
I wish I had. Actually, we were using BMC Petrol at the time.
Okay. Oh, there's actually there's a huge, big player, BMC Petrol, back then.
But we switched to another product later, and this is when I switched departments again.
Because of position?
No, actually, because I wanted to do something different. I switched to this department I'm currently working in, which back then was called Web and Application Servers.
Okay.
And most of the applications for the German saving banks are written in Java.
Okay.
So I got in touch with Java again, and I helped my colleague to deploy applications on WebSphere Liberty.
WebSphere Liberty is actually great. So I mean that you are using WebSphere Liberty is or Open WebSphere Liberty or Open Liberty. What are you using?
WebSphere Liberty.
Okay. This is the same. It's just supported by IBM, and this is astonishing because it is, I think, one of the fastest servers. It starts fast. It is very configurable. It's a really great server. So you never had the opportunity to work with the real thing, the WebSphere, right? No.
I had a workshop with a traditional WebSphere.
Yeah.
And just when I joined this department, we were tearing down the last few instances of TBOS.
Yeah, I assume one workshop is not enough to boot the WebSphere, the real thing. So
I can confirm this. Yeah.
Very good. So so what you did with the Open Liberty? So what's the job? So I mean,
we have more than a few hundred applications we deploy every half a year for the saving banks. Of course, sometimes a little more frequently than that, and because we have multiple configurations for different saving banks, we have to organize the workflow and configurations in very specific ways. And my job is to write and support those workflows, so the actual ops department can do everything easily and manage to deploy hundreds of applications, hundreds of times with lots of different configurations.
Yeah, I think this is supported by Open Liberty or WebSphere Liberty pretty well, right? It's configurability and where you can spin up. They even support internal templates where you can predefine, the entire configuration.
Actually, we're using a FreeMarker to create the server XML file.
Yeah, FreeMarker, or Velocity. I used a lot, and so you are generating basically the configuration depending on.
Yeah.
And then you're starting the entire server with the application like a microservice. And are you still using a shared deployments, or is it more one-to-one? Shared deployments means multiple wars on one Liberty.
We only have one application per Liberty server.
Exactly.
When we had traditional wars, we had multiple applications, obviously, per server. But as soon as we switched to WebSphere Liberty, we had in mind to only have one application per application server,
which is excellent.
JVM,
which is excellent choice because now it is way easier to monitor and to version, and so Are you
Absolutely.
happy with the setup? I mean, with the performance and everything, or what's your impression of the entire thing?
I'm very happy with it. I do really like the IBM Liberty server, and I think it was a good choice to use it. Yeah, the complaints are actually quite few when you think of that we are deploying hundreds of applications in hundreds of different configurations.
So there are then 10,000 of applications actually, right? So if you have
I think we have about 50,000 JVMs in production alone.
50,000, that's like a small cloud.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it's incredible.
most of them are not running in a cloud yet, but of course we're working on that.
No, but for me, it sounds like a small cloud, right? 50K is
Yes.
yeah.
In terms of number of JVMs, yes, this is close to a small cloud. But on the end, we are a data center, so
Yeah, sure.
it's their job to have the applications running for our customers.
Have you looked at Quarkus? Because I mean, OpenLiberty and Quarkus just neighbors.
Not yet, but I think it would be a decision of the development departments. Not our decision to make.
Because if you use Quarkus, the entire configuration will change a bit because like the application configures everything and you're just providing the external configuration. So interesting. I didn't know that you are doing this interesting stuff. So I just found you on Twitter and you are Apache committer, right?
Yeah, I'm Apache committer for Apache Maven and Apache Shiro.
Apache Maven? I didn't know that. Okay. What are you committed to Maven?
I committed a few bug fixes to the JLink plugin, as far as I remember.
Okay.
But I'm not very active with Maven development.
Why JLink? Why you needed JLink?
Well, at that time, I was trying to build a JavaFX application, and I just wanted to try out how JLink works, and I had a use case, and I thought, why not try to make the JLink plugin work? And when I wrote that application, it was like in a milestone state, so we didn't have a final release, and Robert Scholte asked on the mailing list if we wanted to do a multi-release jar. And I committed, or I created a pull request with that implementation.
Yeah, perfect. So, and Robert is also a nice guy. So I also had him on the podcast here. And the funny thing is, he joined one of my Java E workshops. And what I frequently do is always Maven and clean. And he always says, no, you don't have to clean. So if he was in the room, I was really cautious not to cleaning. So I always say just Maven packaged. And then, and the other conference, other day, I just used Maven clean package again. And he saw this somewhere, hey, you don't have to do this. But actually, I had to do this recently, but I forgot why. This was like the tests were not cleaned up or something like this. So there was actually a use case for the cleaning. I actually wanted to write it down and send him a tweet, but interesting.
Yeah, it depends on the plugins you're using. If they do not work with the existing files, Maven verify or Maven package without clean would not work.
I'm usually just using the Surefire and the Failfast and sometimes Quarkus. That's all. So I try to avoid plugins. The JavaFX application, was it for fun or for work?
It was for fun. Just a personal project, one of the side projects which die after a few months.
Okay, interesting. And what was it? Can you probably trombone note recognizer, right?
No, actually, it was a tool for creating sprites for a Super Nintendo game called Legend of Zelda.
Okay.
And there's a great speedrun community for a randomizer, and I found it interesting and tried to donate a tool where you can switch one specific sprite.
Cool.
And I just used this to learn a little bit more about JavaFX.
Which is nice, right? JavaFX is super nice. Yeah.
But I don't have any special use case to use it right now at the moment.
Yeah. And for me, my problem is the free time is somehow not existing anymore. And Java fixes the next problem is I will have to explain my clients, that this is Java and this is okay. But one use case would be one killer use case for your Java for JavaFX is that you can actually submit it to the stores. This is to Apple and to Android. So that's the really interesting part. And other than that, I just using plain web components without any frameworks is what I'm doing. Apache Shiro, also interesting. What do you committed there?
Well, I was using Apache Shiro for a project at work. I needed to write a tool to store our CIs in a very specific fashion. And we, of course, needed some kind of authentication and authorization setup. And at the time, I looked at various solutions and didn't find anything which was sufficient for our use case. And a colleague from another company suggested that I should take a look at Apache Shiro. This was a few years ago, I think in 2017 or 18, probably. Okay. And we implemented Apache Shiro for permission checking.
Okay, because as Apache Shiro started, the company behind asked me to help them with, or they wanted to review some code, but I had absolutely no time back then. So I apologized several times. And then I lost track of Shiro. And then came you with the Shiro. And so, okay, that's interesting that you actually have something to do with Shiro. So, and why Shiro can deliver and OpenLiberty couldn't?
I think the standards which are a part of Java EE are working in a different way. So I was taking a look probably at the Java EE security API.
The Java 8?
And I...
the recent
back
one?
then, no, probably 7.
Okay.
So maybe it was Jazz.
Jazz, I know, but the recent one is very powerful. Java 7 was somehow limited, and now you said Jazz, right? Yeah. So
turned out, I think it doesn't really do what I want it to do. So if I'm not mistaken, it's more like a container view of authorization or authentication. And the application doesn't know too much about the subject in the which is using the application. And Apache Shiro is very application centered, so you have all of the APIs in your application and all the implementations as well, and you can check for permissions dynamically in your code. Either by annotations or via putting together some strings, permission strings.
You should talk to David Blevins from Tommy, because what he also did is combined the Java EE, the recent security, with bin validation. So you can even validate the tokens with your own custom code, which is
I will have to look into that. Yeah. Actually, I became a PMC member last year. So I'm now in control with Brian Demmers and François Papon of the project. And there are a few other PMC members as well, like Jean-Baptiste Onofre and Les Hazelwood, who is a founder of Apache Shiro.
I think Les asked me for the reviews back then. This is my suspicion.
I think he's also the founder of Stormpath. Yeah, that must have been the company who asked you.
Yeah, and the Stormpath uses Shiro, I think, somehow.
I think Stormpath is now part of Okta, and I'm not sure which products which were used at Stormpath are still using Apache Shiro, but I know that Nexus is using Shiro under the hood.
Ah, nice. And you are still active in Shiro, not only managing, but you are also developing features. And is it hobby or still related to your work?
In the beginning, it was a little bit related to work, but I still do everything in my free time only. So in my limited free time, obviously. So I fixed a few bugs, which I also would need to have fixed at work, but I also develop new features just for fun of coding, actually. So I really like the project and
Okay.
the idea behind it. And yeah, it's just like a second hobby.
If you like, I could invite you back and just to talk exclusively about Shiro, about the next steps.
I think this was the idea. I mean, we talked about an hour and not touching Apache Shiro.
Which is
I think.
normal in my podcast because now you had the opportunity to introduce yourself, and then if you like, I can reinvite you back and just talk about the Shiro.
Yes, I would love to.
Perfect. So what we will do, so I will invite you back in a few weeks. So we'll schedule another meeting, and then we can just talk about interesting features for Java, Java EE developers, Shiro. So what Shiro can do and what Java EE cannot do, for instance. This would be the great topics. Okay, where people can find you on the internet?
Mostly on Twitter. My handle is bmarvel, which is spelled BMARWELL.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I am on LinkedIn, but I have to quote Alistair here. I'm there only once in a blue moon.
Okay.
So I basically never look into LinkedIn. But yeah, I'm there as well.
Perfect. So thank you and see you in a few weeks.
Thank you very much for having me on AirHacks.